Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with the late night edition of the Eagles Elite Podcast. So this week you're catching us at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We normally on a little bit earlier, but schedules sometimes. So we had to drop it a little late for you. But our goal is every week to bring you the best content that we had, interactive, always about the Philadelphia Eagles. So tonight, as always, we're talking about Eagles updates, whatever's been happening in the world of Philadelphia Eagles this week. Got a Cowboys game review to get knocked out. We also got a Saints game review. And of course, a little training camp and other miscellaneous things we'll be discussing. You know how we do every week, all the time. Eagles Elite, interactive. We just need y'all to make it happen. So with that being the case, bringing in my guy, Mr. Wyatt, the co-host, the OG2 tonight.
Yes, sir. What's happening, man? And we are so close. I can almost taste it to the regular season here. I mean, we got the preseason game coming up this weekend. I'm hyped for just to kind of get to see all the rookies and, just to have some Philadelphia Eagles football back, but I'm ready to get into it because we actually have a lot of news to talk about tonight.
Hey, man, you are the guy for the news, so let's get it.
So, yeah, I mean, you want to hop right into it?
Let's go.
All right, man. All right, so we have signed offensive lineman Josh Andrews and waived injured wide receiver Charleston Rambo and released linebacker Davion Taylor. I mean, everybody knows we are thin at linebackers, so losing Davion Taylor kind of, makes it even weaker there. So, but Howie had a plan. We went out and signed 2 linebackers over the course of this week. We agreed to terms with linebacker Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham on 1-year deals. Miles Jack, I believe he was on Pittsburgh last season. He was on Jacksonville before that, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, and Zach Cunningham, he's been having some injury issues, but he was on the Titans, I believe, before. But Miles Jack, I mean, he's already getting first-team reps and everything. So, I mean, it seems like they have some confidence in him. I think it could be one of those nice veteran pickups that Howie makes. But I still don't believe this dude is done yet.
I hear it. So before you go any further, I wanted to go ahead and start dropping the news because I wanted people to see we bring it tonight. Before we go any further, a little something to get us hyped.
The kick is away, and the kick it's good! And the Eagles win!
It's hard to come to South Philadelphia and leave here with the win. You just don't come to Philadelphia and leave here with the win.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin!
Hey, man, nothing gets my Eagles juices flowing like that, buddy. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
If nobody else is here, we always got our number one peoples. Philly. What's going on, Philly? Appreciate you watching.
Philly.
So, yeah, man, I know we got some more news. And before we go further, I love the pickup of both linebackers. A lot of people have speculated that Miles Jack is going to replace Nakobe Dean. I think what we're going to have, personal opinion, of course, doesn't make it fact, but I think what we're going to have is we're going to have a situation where Miles Jack might be that other linebacker because we know once you get that green dot, it's very difficult for you to not be that guy and be that starter. But, we know we've got Hassan Reddick on one side. The other side, a little shaky. So I think that we're going to get an opportunity to see Jack possibly there. Because once you're a veteran, you may be used to playing middle linebacker, but you can play either of the linebacker positions. So that's why I think he's going to make a big impact for us as being a guy that can step in and help out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the other signing we had was Josh Andrews, who we signed on a 1-year deal. He was a guard/center. Might need that backup center here because it seems like, they're very high on, giving Juergens possibly that right guard position. I know we've been talking about that for the past couple weeks. But Josh Andrews, he's no stranger to the franchise. He came in as an unrestricted free agent in 2014 with us. And I believe he played for us for a couple years. He even was on the Super Bowl squad with us, and then he got released. I'm not sure really too much what he did after that. I'm sure he's just kind of bouncing around, but it's some nice depth. And I mean, it's another guy that I'm sure Stoutland, trusts on that offensive line if he has to go in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that we've kind of done that. I like the moves. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against the moves at all. I just kind of look at it and say, we really need to be, I feel like, getting Tyler Steen reps, right? I feel like you have a young guy. You want him to be your guy in the future. This is the perfect year to have him play between some of the best players in the league, at the positions they're at. So for me, It's just kind of like, why are we not doing that? But at the same time, I always am for getting depth. So let me be the first to say depth is important, right? Depth is the main thing, because if you can't get depth, you're not going to be a successful team in this league, because you're going to have injuries. Best case scenario, you don't have injuries, but you have guys who you can rotate in. So I just feel like, for me, Tyler Steen should be playing, and we should be looking at bringing in guys to be his backup. But, we'll see how things work out. I know we've got a updated depth chart here, and this is what, it's being said from our class, which is normally very accurate. Still has Tyler Steen as a starter at right guard. Still has Cam Jurgens as the backup center, and has Cameron Tom as the third center, right? Tyrese Robinson as the backup right guard. Josh Seals as the third right guard. We'll see if that's going to hold, because like I said, we know that Jurgens has been taking reps. It could just be that they want Jurgens to get reps as well, because he's not going to get any center reps, so maybe want to at least get some guard reps to have reps. We'll see how it plays out. Whatever they decide to do, Jeff Stoutland's there. I trust Jeff Stoutland, whatever decision he makes. Blindly trust for Jeff Stoutland. He's earned it, over the years. So that's one guy I won't question what he does with his particular unit.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like with the past couple of weeks, because we picked up a couple of different offensive linemen here, it really shows how much the organization really values the importance of that O-line and, what that means for the success of this football team.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I love it. I'm excited about it. So, we do have the game, right? So we can get into the game. And then, of course, we'll have actually, first, did you have any more news that you want to drop before we get into?
Yeah, I got some more news here. We actually hired Matt Leo as a defensive and football operations assistant. Matt Leo, he did play with us for the past couple of years, and he actually retired going into training camp this year. I'm not sure if we talked about that here going into training camp, but he did retire, and he actually ended up being hired onto the staff. This is nothing new for the organization. We ended up bringing, I believe it was Connor Barwin, Darren Sproles. Selleck was, he was there at practice today, actually. Selleck was helping out and everything. It's nothing new to see some of these vets come back and try to help out, on the coaching staff or just in the organization at some point. But it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I like it because it shows that we have guys that have a level of intelligence too, right? Because if you don't think a guy has the intelligence, you're not going to bring him in. So I love it. Always for it. Hope it continues.
Yeah. And I only have one more thing here. We activated Devin Allen, who's been practicing here past couple practices, and we signed wide receiver Johnny King and released Chim Okafor and Trevor Reed. They were both tackles. So it's another wide receiver that we ended up scooping up.
I love it. I love getting wide receivers, always with it, because there's one thing that I always feel you can't have enough of is wide receivers.
Yeah.
So for me, run it. Get them, make it happen. So I love the fact that just continue to do it, man. I know what were you about to say?
Oh, no, you're good. I didn't know too much about Johnny King.
Well, man, not too much myself either, but I will say this, like I said, we know that we've got some guys, right? But now you're seeing them in camp, and you're like, well, maybe some guys are not giving us exactly what they need from that position, because we always hear about who does well, but sometimes there are guys that may not do so well, and we just don't hear anything about it. So It sounds like it may be that situation, in that wide receiver group as far as backups go, because I'm pretty sure we're not doing this in regards to any of our starting guys. but maybe some of those backup guys just haven't, performed. And in the past, we've been an organization that said, hey, it's okay. We'll just try to work on them a couple of years. But now I feel like we're kind of cutting that corner where we're saying, look, if you're not getting it done, you're not getting it done.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, we can't. We've talked about it before. How how he has a tendency to hang on to these guys for far too long. Whether it's like some of these project cornerbacks or project wide receivers, it is what it is. But like at this point, if the talent's not there, you got to either move them down the depth chart or you got to let them go. I mean, you can't be fooling around trying to start these guys, every week or something. That's why it's like we talked about this year is Quez Watkins' probably last chance to be like that third wide receiver spot on this roster. If he can't do something with it, we got to go out and try to get somebody else or draft someone.
And I'm okay with it. Like I said, I haven't heard any good or bad from Zacchaeus yet at camp. But I believe that there is a battle there. I know Quez is the guy that's been on the team. A lot of times they highlight that guy when they're talking. I unfortunately wasn't able to go to the open practice. Wish I would have been able to, but it wasn't in the cards. So, a lot of fans were there. I believe 50,000. So a lot of people for a preseason just practice, not even a game. But hey, we had a good year and they're expecting a lot. So a lot of people were there. I know Dak got a lot of, not Dak. I'm getting ready for the Cowboys game review, but I know Hurts got a lot of, MVP chants. So a lot of positives, for the team in that game. Very excited about just seeing the fans that are there in Philly getting behind the team. The rest of us everywhere else, we're definitely behind the team. So just excited to see that they're also behind the team there in Philly and giving them that support. So love to see that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, man, there's always a lot going on in the world of the Eagles. There's so much because we're the Eagles. But what we'll do is start hopping. We'll hop into that first game replay. Because of our schedule switch, we're just going to kind of rock through it ourselves this week. Hopefully we'll be able to get some of our fellow podcasters in next week to talk those two games. But, sometimes you just need to hear the juice from us because, hey, we can still talk about both teams. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's a couple bad games to talk about tonight.
Yeah, we do. These games are the reason why Marcus Mariota is a Philadelphia Eagle this year.
Yeah, and old Gardner Minshew is a Colt, is a backup for the Colts now.
I would start him over. I would start him over the starter, but that's their organization. Do what you will.
Oh, hot take, hot take.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not high on Anthony Richardson. I haven't been. He didn't impress in college. I don't see how you go from not impressing in college to impressing enough to be the unquestioned starter in the NFL. Yeah. Just it baffles me. But hey, again, Colts, do what you will. Enjoy it. You're just one less team we have to worry about, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Dallas Cowboys ended up winning this game 40-34. Did you have any thoughts on it first, Wyatt? And then I'll give a couple of thoughts after that.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I feel like we didn't really know what to expect because we haven't really had to see Gardner Minshew in here. I mean, he did win the game, the Jets game, I think the year previously, and everybody was hyping him up at that point. But I mean, at that time, the Jets are the Jets. I mean, you were supposed to go out and win that game regardless of who you had. So I mean, going up against Dallas, it's going to be a tough game. Any division game is going to be a tough one. And I mean, this is the one where they brought Dak back, and our Arlington fans chirping, "Oh, Jalen Hurts in here." Well, Dak wasn't there in the first one. It is what it is, and we were missing some key starters there on defense as well. We weren't just missing Hurts. CJ was out. I believe there was another couple, one or two pieces out as well.
We know Maddox is out. Maddox
was out. But it ended up a lot closer than we expected. I mean, 34-40 is crazy. I mean, look at the stats. Gardner Minshew, he was 24 of 40, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then those 2 picks are really what hurt us as far as other than the defense. The defense just couldn't stop a damn thing throughout this whole game, giving up huge plays. and they just weren't able to tackle anybody. Like we've been talking about through the course of all these reviews through these games. There was a couple like kind of big plays. I mean, Josh Sweat had like the pick 6 on Dak Prescott. But overall, I mean, what really hurt us was the defense not really being able to stop anything, and then those 2 costly interceptions by Gardner Minshew, and just some, not just the picks, but just some other weird decisions as well. And I mean, like we mentioned before, they tried to make Gardner Minshew run the same scheme as Jalen Hurts, and it just does not work. He is not that type of player at all, and that's really not only what failed us in this game, but even more so in the next game that we're going to cover. We actually had a shot in this one until the very end, and then Quez Watkins happened. Like we possibly could have won this game, and then Quez just got bullied, got the ball just snatched right out of his hands. Debo just went snatched that chain, snatched that ball out of his hands in midair.
Before we even get to the game, I just have to stop for a second. The guy that does not compete for the ball in critical situations or fumbles the ball away and makes bad decisions is the guy that we're considering again to be the 3rd wide receiver. I mean, I just don't see it, but he's had other great camps, but he does not deliver when it's important. And I just want us to finally recognize this guy's not going to deliver when it's important. Let's get him out of here, right? Yeah. Or let's demote him and get someone in here that's going to do that job. Just saying, if he does it, cool. I'll eat crow. Hey, he finally did it. But he hasn't done it for now. We look at this game. Devontae Smith, like you said, 8 for 113, 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown, 6 for 103. Dallas Goedert 3 for 67. Gainwell, 4 for 41. Quez, Sanders, and Pascal, 1 catch each. Quez for 19, Sanders for 6, Pascal for 6. Quez is the 3rd wide receiver. Dallas Goedert only had 3 catches. Why can't we at least get 2 or 3 catches out of you? Why does it 1 catch, 2 catches, 5 catches, no catches, 1 catch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, like you said, I mean, he never does it in the moments that he has to. And then those big moments. We've seen Quez make big plays before. He's made some great plays, but it's never been when he has to, when the game is on the line, those type of plays. It's always when we're already up and we're like, oh, just throw the ball downfield. He makes a huge catch or whatever, or just, makes a nice touchdown catch. It is what it is, but I don't know. It's like you said, he just doesn't have those big time play moments. And that's what you need out of that 3rd wide receiver. The other 2 can do it. We've seen them do it all season. We've been talking about it. And it's like, we just need that one piece. And then I feel like that offense would be even more elite, like top tier. And that's maybe where your boy Zacchaeus maybe fits into play. Or the other guy that's been talking about in training camp a lot was Joseph Nagata.
Yeah. I hope, like I was, saying earlier, I think Deion Kane, who was really killing it in the USFL, was signed. So I hope he climbs the depth chart, because I think he might be a guy you may not want him to be one of your top 3, maybe, but I think he's a guy that can make plays, can kind of fill in at times for Smith and A.J. Brown, because right now we're looking at Tyree Cleveland and Britton Covey as the backups. I just don't feel comfortable going into a season with Tyree Cleveland, Britton Covey, and more than likely either Quez Watkins or Olamide, Zacchaeus, who couldn't beat him out, as the second 3 wide receivers. I just, that I feel is an important point that needs to be fixed. Right?
You can't find anybody better than Britton Covey? Is that what you're saying? To at least kick returns or something? Because we know we haven't really seen him out there like in the actual offense. We really only just see him on those kick returns. But like, you guys can't find anybody better at kick returns, like through free agency or the waiver wire or something like that. Like, come on.
And I do want to give a quick update. This is funny, but I will give it. So Ian Book has been dropped to the 4th quarterback now. Our 6th round pick, Tanner McKee, has now supplanted him as the third quarterback on the depth chart. So Ian
We'll
Book,
be seeing that guy more in the preseason game.
Yeah, so what that means is if this stays where it is, Ian Book, you're going to be future endeavored, sir.
Yeah. You're probably going to be gone.
Yeah, and I would not be upset with that. There's the USFL, XFL, several other leagues that you may have an opportunity to rebuild yourself in. But right now, yeah, you're not the guy.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it's like you said, though, it's never a bad thing to have a crowded wide receiver room or anything like that. That just helps other, it's just like this is kind of what maybe we need out of Quez is like have them picking up all these wide receivers to kind of give them that competition, like that fire a little bit more. But you never know. You could find a diamond in the rough out of some of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. So, for me, I think defensively, the stats were there, right? Like guys had, tackles, we had some sacks. So we made good plays, but we didn't make plays at times that they were needing this game. Because of what? Because we were 5 yards back at least all the time, right? We saw early on, if you were paying any attention to this game as a fan, CeeDee Lamb was being fed the ball, just fed the ball in the slot. So what did we do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. CeeDee Lamb have a 10 reception, 120-yard, 2-touchdown game on a platter. Here you go. Because we're not worried about the fact that you're being matched up against our third corners who are not very good, right? Because they shouldn't have even been playing as many snaps as they did, but they had to because of injury. So adjustments. Who cares about adjustments and stuff like that? Changing the plays up, doing things and make the other team have to do something different. Why would you want to do that? That's what Jonathan Gannon's mindset had to have been last year. Either he's the most incompetent defensive coordinator that I've seen in a long time. So just things like that really irk me because they didn't have to happen. Ezekiel Elliott, 16 carries, 55 yards. Not a big day as far as overall, but he did get a touchdown, right? Dak had 6 runs for 41 yards. Pollard had 9 for 19. The problem I have when we have teams that we play to have quarterbacks that have some mobility and we let them get big yards, you practice against Jalen Hurts every day at practice. Can we not stop guys who can run the ball?
Put a spy on them or something.
Are we not serious? Like, it's not like you don't see this. Your own quarterback does this.
Practice it every day.
It's just so disgusting to see.
Yeah, really and we actually we tried to run the ball this game too. I mean, Miles had 21 carries, the most. Most in the past couple games that we've talked about, and he only had 65 yards. It wasn't for the lack of trying to run the ball; they just weren't able to do much. And then you have, like we mentioned, Gardner Minshew, just statue. And when he tries to run, I think we talked about it last week. Dude's running in sand, bro. He is not going anywhere. That's why it equates. If you look at the stat, 6 sacks on this dude, 6, and it's outrageous. And that's just another just piling on top of reasons why we lost this game when we were in it for a majority. Even with all these mistakes, we were in it until the very end, and then Quez got manhandled.
Yep. And what's up, Rod? Appreciate you checking in with us. And we got to go Birds from someone on the Facebook side. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Flag is flag.
I'm gonna grab the thing for you guys for next week, so everyone that's watching on Facebook, if you haven't given StreamYard authorization to be able to get your information, I'll have that available for you guys for next week. I had it, but unfortunately something happened and I can't find where it's at, but it's okay. We'll make it happen for you. But yeah, for this game, the biggest takeaway for me is if we can almost beat the Arlington football team with our backups, right? Because we scored 20 points in the first half, they had 17. Then we scored 14 in the second half, and they scored, 23. So as long as we can, make up that difference with our starters in the games and the playoffs and moving forward, I think we'll be fine. Obviously, the Cowboys went out and got a little bit better at the wide receiver position, so they're going to be, attempting to attack teams like us and other teams with that new depth that they have, right? And that's the thing. If you have a team that you have two solid starters at the outside positions and a decent slot wide receiver, you're going to be in a position to do very well, right? This is the game where T.Y. Hilton had the big 52-yard reception, only reception of the game. That burned me so bad because it was miscommunication. Because
Josh Jobe.
Yeah. Jobe didn't stay with the play. And Darius Slay caught a lot of flack for this, but he told the guy where to go, and he didn't go. So if I'm telling you as the guy, and there's a play call in the backfield, hey, cover this, and then you don't cover it, and then I have to cover your position and mine, that's why, the play happened. Mm-hmm. But, I'll say Slay should have also saw that he wasn't there and tried to make adjustments too. But that's kind of hard to do on the fly when you have so much ground to cover. So it's kind of, I wouldn't put it all
possibly leave someone else open.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it all on Joby. I wouldn't put it all on Slay. I'd put a lot of it on Jonathan Gannon. I'm going to say his name tonight because I'm feeling okay. I got my candles lit and I'm feeling okay. So I put a lot of it on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even though, I've been trashing Gardner Minshew and the mistakes he made, he was still part of the reason why we were in the game. He was making some good throws. He was finding his guy when he needed to. But, you have a backup quarterback being thrown in the fire 16 weeks into the season. Mistakes are going to be made when you don't game plan around his play style. And that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah, he had a solid game, 24-40 for 355 yards.
Yeah.
So,
stat-wise,
he impressed me with what he was able to come in and do because, again, backup, you're playing someone else's offense. The one grief I had with Steichen in this game and the next game proved it. Not enough adaptability. If you're going to put Minshew in this game and he's practicing the whole week, he's going to be the guy, then you have to make alterations in the offense. Drop him back in the shotgun instead of putting him in RPOs. No one is going to believe that the guy that runs like he's got concrete blocks on his feet was going to do an RPO run. That was clearly going to end one way. So I think it's fair to say, do things that make sense sometimes, right? Just make it make sense. You have a different type of quarterback in there. Use him correctly. Now, what they've done this year is they've taken that concern away from Brian Robinson because they did what they should have did last year. They went and got a backup that fits the same style as the starter. I'll say this not just about the Eagles, but about any team in the league. When you're playing the game and you're what's the word I'm looking for? When you're playing the game and you're the backup, right? When you come into the game and the style that you're playing is completely opposite of your strengths, it's not going to end well. So just do a better job of putting guys in opportunities to be successful. He did make some bad plays. Minshew did in critical situations, but he's a backup. You expect that. But we do got to get more than 65 yards from our starting running back if he has 21 carries.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we only get 4 carries for the backups. And then our quarterback has 4 carries. That's our backup.
We shouldn't have had any.
Yeah, Concrete Feet had 4 carries for 5 yards. So congratulations. But there were positives, right? We can take positives out of any game, but for this game, a lot of guys got a chance to play. Some guys made a lot of great plays. Our offense was able with a backup to hang in there, even though AJ Brown was quite pissed with Gardner Minshew. We were able to hang in there. He was able to get it together enough to make the plays that we needed him to make as well. So overall, I have to count games like this as a win. As far as the season, you obviously lost it for the game, but a lot of positives came out of it as far as what else we were able to do and how good the line was, even for Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, it was just good enough to make Eagles fans like, you know what? We might be okay. We play the Saints next week. Gardner Minshew should be able to go out here, do exactly what he did, except, it's against the Saints, so we should be a little bit better. We could easily win this next one. Wrong. It was even worse.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But because these were both losses and we just need a little break in between.
Yeah.
couple more
rough.
pieces of information that we could talk about. So we finally got the top 20 players released, right? We know AJ Brown made 22, so just outside of 20, but he didn't make the list last year, so we're happy with that. So if we go all the way on up to number 3 on said list, it's a gentleman that, might have heard about, right?
Maybe.
Call him QB1. A lot of people said it was hurt season last year, things like that. But Mr. Jalen Hurts, right? Number 3 on the top 100.
Hell yeah.
What are your thoughts, Wyatt?
It's great, man. I mean, there's so many. The haters out in full force. Jalen Hurts too high. How you gonna put this guy as like the second best quarterback in the league? I'll tell you why. Did you not watch any of the games last year? Dude was a runner-up for MVP for a reason. He balled out. I mean, not only could this dude run, the biggest question mark was could he throw this season? And what was he? He's a top 3 in pocket passing last year. I mean, dude is as efficient as they come. The question is, can he continue to improve on that going forward in this season? That remains to be said. I think he can, because this dude is just nothing but, he has that mentality, that Mamba mentality. He's just hard work all the time, perfecting his craft. And I mean, Pat Mahomes, the number 1 on this list, is out here giving him flowers. Like, listen, you cannot watch what he did last year and just like, how are you going to put this dude down? Like, he showed all the fundamentals. He proved exactly what he needed to be a top QB in this league. And I mean, anybody, it's an opinion. It's subjective. Anybody can go out there and be like, okay, Josh Allen should be better for this, and this reason. But I mean, just based off of the facts and off the games last year alone, the top 2 QBs in the league were Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. And then it's just up for speculation which one you want to put either way. Because I know from the Super Bowl we watched, I know Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in that game and possibly in the league. So, I mean, as a biased opinion, I'm going to put QB1 at number 1. But at number 3, I think that's fair. I mean, a top 5 player, it's been a while since we had a top 5 player for the Philadelphia Eagles like that. And for that to be your QB1, it's a great feeling. And he's locked down for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And then, it was great because also it was a guy a lot of people said, couldn't be our quarterback. And he's a running back, not really a wide receiver. I mean, a quarterback, and all that blasphemous disrespect. And a lot of it was either Eagles fans. I've even had Eagles fans now say, we still need to see more seasons of Jalen Hurts playing like that because, anybody can do it for one season. Okay. All I said to those people is okay. No problem.
And then you have the argument, well, he has a loaded roster. He's a stacked roster. He's like, how is that a fault? I mean, most of the top teams in the NFL have really good rosters. I mean, look at the Chiefs, look at the Bills, what have you. I mean, most of these teams have star players. I mean, it's no different. I mean, you're going to fault Jalen Hurts because his GM built a better roster than your team? I mean, he's still got to get the ball in the hands of these playmakers, right? So, I mean, it takes talent to do that.
Yeah. Hurts deserves this. I honestly thought they were going to screw him and put him like 6, right? Because we hear all this talk about Burrow's the second best quarterback and everything. So people always say, oh, Jalen Hurts has a better line. And I say, so my rebuttal to that is always very simple. Name me another quarterback that has a trio of wide receivers as good as what he has. And, they say, oh, the Eagles have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I say, keep going. Who else? And they're like, yeah. Oh, Dallas got about him. I said, wide receivers. They have a tight end too. Wide receivers. No one can give me a better trio of wide receivers except for possibly if they can stay healthy. And this is the biggest if in the league because they're about those wide receivers about like Anthony Davis, the Chargers. That's the only other
Bengals
team
have
give me. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Oh,
the
yeah,
Bengals,
the Bengals. Yeah, the Bengals. Yeah.
The Bengals.
Gotcha.
The only other team to me is the Chargers. The only other quarterback is Justin Herbert. So Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow when people want to rank them over Hurts, and it's fine if that's how you want to rank him. As long as you have my guy in the top 7, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to think what those guys have that he doesn't. Yeah, their line is not as good, so you have to get rid of the ball early. But you know that before every play starts. So I have 1 or 2 reads to make, and you've got 3 guys. So if read 1 isn't there, and read 2 isn't there, I can just throw the ball to read 3 is probably going to be open, right? Because you have 3 really good guys.
Yeah,
and that's big for a quarterback. And I'm not saying that negates Hurts' having a line that he has, but I'm saying that you can't say that makes them have less talent. That's my argument against it.
Yeah.
But
and I mean, even though they try to make it a downside, you got to include running in there too. Dude's doing stuff with his feet that Burrow and Herbert aren't doing. When he has to, say that line breaks down, he is rolling out and either running it himself or he's throwing on the run and hitting dudes pinpoint down the sideline sometimes. I mean, he's doing some stuff that a lot of these other QBs can't do.
So Reed Blankenship, just to switch gears here, Reed Blankenship has basically taken over the position. He will be our starting safety.
Yeah. I've been hearing a lot of great things out of Reed Blankenship in training camp so far. And man, it's kind of just building off of what we saw from him last year. He's just fast. He's got great intelligence. He's quick, and he's a hard hitter, man. He goes for them hits. Yeah. I'm excited to see what else he can do this season as a starter.
Yeah. So what he did that made him really stick out is he got an interception off Hurts on the pass to Quez Watkins. He made a diving interception, and he was able to keep his feet in bounds. He had the range instincts, ball skills, and everything. And a lot of people thought that Edmonds and Sidney Brown would both start, and he would be the backup. But with your boys and these people here, the boys and your lady, we already talked about how Reed Blankenship had that not as good, but that Brian Dawkins instincts, right? That Brian Dawkins dogging him a little bit. And you can't teach that. You can't put it on the bench. And that's what it is. He's going to be that guy. Not surprised. Like I said, the new linebackers, like you said, are getting the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Terrell Edmonds. I haven't been hearing a lot about him this training camp a lot, and we've been hearing more about Kavon and Sidney Brown. We haven't really been hearing too much about Edmonds as much, so I'm wondering if he may lose his spot.
Yep, but just said there's been a battle here for RB1 that Swift and Penny are locked in the battle for who's going to be the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I still think it's going to be Swift, though. I mean, it seems like they've been trying to utilize him a lot in the passing game. It seems like they're going to try to make that more focal point of not like a huge focal point, but they're going to try to introduce that more into the offense going into the season, kind of keep it fresh. Yeah, as long as they can stay healthy, I mean, Duke could be lethal. We've seen what he did on the Lions.
Yeah. So there's a lot, going on there. It's just some of the stories from training camp. We like to always try to include a little training camp info for you guys to get a little training camp information.
Yeah, we had an injury scare. I know the past week. Was it Patrick Johnson? Was that his name?
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah. But they thought it was going to be real serious. He got carted off and everything, and but it just turns out that it's not nearly as bad as it thought. They thought it was going to be a knee injury, but it was just a hamstring. He's going to sit out for a little while, but he should be good for the season. Patrick Johnson, yeah, that's who it was. And Nakobe, he had an ankle injury, but he's already limited to practice today. He's day-to-day. He'll be back ready to suit up. People thought that the pickup of Miles Jack and everything was due to Nakobe getting hurt, and that wasn't the case.
Yep. Definitely. I think it's interesting some of the other battles that we're seeing for the others. Pretty much the way we play is there's technically 3 linebackers, but only 2 of them are really used like linebackers. So with Nakobe Dean pretty much in most people's opinion, has one spot locked down, even with the new guys brought in. But Nicholas Morrow, Christian Ellis, Miles Jack, and then Zach Cunningham are now in the mix for the other spot as well.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Ellis has actually outplayed overall Nicholas Morrow. Miles Jack actually had a really great day on yesterday as well, kind of adding a little bit to what you were saying. Hey, those guys are getting reps too. Because what we have is Nolan Smith is basically playing off-ball linebacker. He's getting some reps there, but a lot of what I think we're going to see from here is we're going to see him doing exactly what the guy who he's learning from does.
Yeah. I forget, was it Mailata? They said that called him like a mini Son Reddick yesterday or today.
Yep.
I was like, damn,
yep.
That's encouraging to hear. It's exciting.
As Hassan Reddick said, he's a once in a lifetime talent. This came from Hassan Reddick's mouth, watching him play. So, I'm excited. I just want to see the best group that we have go out. But I also want the team to be ready to say, you know what? After training camp, we saw this. But now we see this. So we'll see what happens. Now, interesting, Quez Watkins seems to be the favorite. Not by the depth chart, but seems to be the favorite. So he had a couple of really good days. Zacchaeus had one. Then so far in training camp, it looks like they're about even. And what makes it interesting to me is that we talk about how Watkins has all these great days, but then when you look at the actual matchups and who's won, it's not as cut and dry as everyone wants to make it out to be. Of course, we talked about Tanner McKee over in Book. That's not a surprise either. But what were you going to say, Wyatt?
Yeah, I mean, and that just also goes into some of the favoritism. Not favoritism, but like just kind of the stubbornness of maybe giving up on some of those players. So it's like unless he does really poorly in camp, I feel like Sirianni and Howie are going to be like, yeah, we're just going to kind of keep him at that wide receiver 3 spot for now. See what he can do during the season. It's like, it sucks because we as fans can watch this information and it's like, yeah, dude should not be out there. We should be giving Zacchaeus or one of these other guys an opportunity at that third spot. But like, we all know that there's going to be stubborn about it and kind of run it until the wheels fall off with Quez.
Oh, and they will fall. They definitely will fall. But yeah,
I don't want them to
fall. What's going to happen?
But it's probably going.
That's the only way we actually see any change there. But it's okay because it's going to have to be determined by play. The good thing is there's a new coordinator this year, so a lot of the past biases and certain people getting chances may not ride as strongly this year. So we'll see how everything plays out with that as well. We still have some more camp to go. We've got preseason games, some live game actions, so guys can kind of go up and down based on how they perform then too.
Yeah, I've been very interested in seeing what Sean Desai is going to do because I've been hearing a lot of interesting stuff about how he's kind of moving guys around in different positions, testing them out in different ways, working on 3 safety sets and everything. It seems like he's really trying to shake things up on the defense, and it's gone. I have no clue what to expect from him or this defense going into the season. It's preseason, but I doubt we're going to see anything kind of concrete or hinting at what's to come in the regular season. It's going to be very vanilla. But just with what the way everybody is talking about this defense in camp and what he's trying to do and experimenting with, it could be a strong defense. I mean, the offense is talking about how they're not used to seeing how this defense is being aggressive and trying to hide these sort of things and everything. It's very interesting. It's not what we're used to be hearing about this defense going into training camp and everything. It's kind of a mystery. We're not used to it.
Yeah. I've said before, the only person I think that could be worse than Jonathan Gannon as a defensive coordinator is Jonathan Gannon's son is defensive coordinator. I'm kidding, y'all. But it's definitely will be an upgrade. And I think Desai will do some things differently. Look at everything that's happened and say, you know what, man, I saw what happened here last year. I saw that there was a lot of the same players playing a lot of vanilla schemes. So sometimes just having those different formations confuses quarterbacks, confuses players on where to go. They're going to be able to recognize and pick up on who they're covering if they're doing man, zone. Just don't always do 5-yard off zone every play and only rush the same people. Like, mix it up. Just mix it up, man. Just make it so it's difficult. That's all I really ask.
Yeah, have some variety in there.
Yes. It might not always work, but call some different plays. Make the other offenses that we play not be able to say, oh, well, we know what they're going to run here. And that's going to be 5-yard off soft zone.
Because it seems like at certain times, like in the Dallas game and the Saints game or whatever, it seems like, the middle of the field's going to be open, or they're going to be playing 10 yards back, or whatever. We can easily get this first down and just move forward, move them sticks. And then the list of other problems that the defense had, but it's just very soft. And hopefully, like you said, Desai will be able to see what's not working and adjust accordingly during the game or just during that week in between games to see, okay, this didn't work. We're going to install kind of a new game plan going into the system going forward and see if that sticks. If not, figure something else out.
Pretty much that's how it rolls. But yeah, man, so, a lot of more things happen to camp we could talk about, but I guess we put it out long enough. All right. So there was a second game that we are discussing, a second game that was started by Gardner Minshew. And unlike the first game, this game was trash.
At least the first one was competitive against Dallas. Man, it was competitive, I guess. I mean, both teams, it was like the battle of being mediocre in this one, it seemed. Like the Saints were terrible going. Like, what, they're 7-9, 7-8 or something going into this?
Yeah, they were 6-9 going into this.
6-9 going into this one. I mean, we have a habit of making some of the worst quarterbacks look great. And I mean, Andy Dalton, he was 18 of 22, first off, 205 yards and 1 pick. He didn't have any touchdowns, but this dude went 18 of 22. That should tell you how bad this secondary was for us. I mean, Andy Dalton should not be getting throwing 18 to 22 against you. And I mean, they were running all over us too. I mean, Kamara had 73 yards. Taysom Hill had 14 carries, 46 yards. But this offense was just stagnant. They were not able to do anything. Gardner Minshew, he was 18 of 32, 274 yards. He did have a touchdown. He did throw a pick as well. Miles Sanders only had 61 yards on 12 carries. Devontae was, the guy to go to again for Minshew with 115 yards on 9 receptions. But, I mean, we only scored the 10 points we had. We scored in the third quarter. We weren't able to put up any points in any of those other quarters, not in the first half. All 10 points came in that third quarter. And, I mean, we just weren't able to stop a very mediocre Saints team. And it was disheartening at the time because I was like, it's easy to blame Minshew, but it wasn't just Minshew in this game. There was just everything that could go wrong went wrong in this game, it seemed like.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. Trying to figure out where to start. There's so many different things to talk about, right? Just trying to figure out where to start because it's so much. But I think our lack of really getting the running game off, which has been a big concern for me. Again, here, 12 carries, 61 yards. It's not bad, but he didn't run enough. Sanders was averaging 5 yards a carry. He didn't run enough. And then 2 for 6 from Boston Scott. And then basically a run for nothing for Gardner Minshew. Then we go to the air, 274 yards. It's nothing to sneeze at, but a lot of it was fluff when the game was out of reach. Devontae Smith, great game. A.J. Brown, another almost 100-yard game on just 4 catches. Goddard, another 3 catches. Gainwell, 2. Quiz with none. Boston Scott with none. So, Mr. I'm an elite receiver, no catches. Doesn't look elite to me. But maybe I don't know what elite is. But man, it's just crazy. Yeah. It's I just don't understand how Gardner Minshew regressed that much. And I'll say this: the Saints have a better, I would say, defensive line than Dallas did last year. Right, which is probably what the difference was and what was concerning. But for me, you just have to be better, right? You just have to use your running game more. You're in a situation where your backup's playing, you see things aren't going as well for them. Use the run game.
Yeah.
Because New Orleans surely did. New Orleans carried the ball 35 times. Right? Philadelphia Eagles only carried the ball, 35, 15. 20 more carries on the ground for New Orleans. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just the other thing, like we already mentioned, was the Eagles didn't adjust as far as game plan. They just kept the same game plan with Gardner Minshew from Dallas, which for the Saints, they could easily look at that Dallas game and see like, okay, this is exactly what they were doing with Gardner Minshew. They're just going to try to keep the same game plan they used for Hurts. And sure enough, going into the Saints game, they didn't change anything. They tried to run the same stuff they were doing against Dallas, and the Saints knew that. And that's another thing. I mean, he had 6 sacks on him in this game as well. I mean, we had 7 against Andy Dalton. But Minshew got sacked 6 times in this game as well. I mean, he was just a statue. He wasn't able to go anywhere. He's running in sand, and it just didn't help out. Like the Saints were one step ahead of us in this game because we didn't bother on switching up the offense to, play around Gardner Minshew's strengths, if he has any.
Concrete feet. Yeah, you just look at, like, even I'm looking at, like, the receivers, you go back and watch the game, and, like, nobody really went off. They did do a good job with Juwan Johnson and Chris Olave, who were the main receivers most of the season. Rashid Shaheed did get 79 yards on 6 receptions. So they did fairly decent through the air, too. They had more people catch balls than us, more running yards than us, more attempts at running the ball, more receptions. When you allow the other team to get that on you, it's hard to win. But their numbers weren't great. It's just that ours were worse.
Yeah.
We didn't do a lot offensively. We didn't really put the clamps on them defensively. And I really think we kind of overlooked things for the guys who are regular starters in this game. And then with that, on top of that, Minshew, with the way he played, I think we were kind of riding that high from, we would have beat Dallas if we just had one or two things break the other way. And we didn't go into this game and take this game as seriously as we needed to. We didn't need it. And that's another thing. We were kind of at this fat and happy point right here. Like, we only need to win one of the last, 3 games and whatnot.
That was the thing is, like, you think you would have tried to prepare. That way you could get that win. That way you wouldn't have to worry about those last couple of games or whatever. But because it relied on, like, that last game that we needed to get the Giants, that 1 seed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at that time of possession, man. I mean, the Saints had 37 minutes time of possession. We only had 22. Like you're saying, like, we should have ran that ball way more or tried to establish the run more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Look at the first downs, 19-11.
Yeah.
The
Dallas one, we had like 27 or 25 first downs.
Mm-hmm.
We had 11 in this one.
We just didn't do a lot. And then Andy Dalton threw an interception, but hey, we gave him one too.
Yeah. Yeah. This one pissed off a lot of people. Even though it was like a game that nobody, like, going into that week was like, nah, we all right, don't worry about it. We good. Like, we were trying to throw Minshew out of town after this one.
This was not our greatest performance. It's okay because it happens. But, that's one of the things that I love about our show, right? We don't just talk about what the Eagles do right and gloss over everything that's not right. The things that we feel like should have been different. We don't have a problem with voicing those things. I love it because you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to talk about these games. You
Yeah.
have to be able to let people know what's happening and actually focus on the good and the bad of it. So, not the greatest game for us, either of these games, but at least with the Cowboys game, there were a lot of positives to take. The only positive take with this game was we understood that no matter how good people try to say that the offense was and how great it is, you have all these studs. This game did teach us that if you do not have QB1 or should have been MVP playing, this is what you get, 0-2. That doesn't say everything about how valuable he was to the team. I don't know what will.
Yeah, because I mean, we talked like whenever these games were happening live, even looking at it now in hindsight, if Hurts started those games and weren't hurt, we 2-0 in those games. We win in both of them with Hurts.
And then my prediction for us to sweep Dallas would have came true, but it's okay.
Yeah,
because we're gonna do it this year. We're gonna do
It'll
it
happen.
We're gonna do it this year.
It'll happen. We're gonna get that Hurts versus Dak match that everybody's been talking about.
Yep, because they've only played one other time, and that was the first game, not this past season, but the year before when they mollywopped us. And I'll give them that. They did mollywop us. The one time they played, but that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This past
we
year,
would have had a match in the playoffs, but someone didn't hold up their end of the bargain.
And not this coming week, but next week, we'll be talking about the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. And we will have special guests confirmed for those two games. Next week, I believe we will have a guest. We've seen him before. Hopefully, I can get him back on, Mr. Wise, to talk these other two Giants games. The last one to close the season and a divisional game. He may not want to come on just because of what happened in those games. If not, I get it. But, definitely reach out. So we're about it.
We're going to put them through what we just went through this week, kind of. Just 2 back-to-back losses. It's rough.
Yeah.
One close and one not so close.
Yeah, I haven't had many Giants fans responding when I've reached out to see if they want to hop on this year just because of, how our season went against them. But I get it. I don't blame them. I get it.
That's the thing, though. We ain't trying to go out here and just bombard and ridicule people or anything. We trying to actually have conversations about these teams and everything. We ain't trying to just hop on somebody and just tell them how bad their team is or anything. I
try to, explain stuff to them. They're like, yeah, I'll get back to you. And then they'll get back to me. So
yeah,
it's all good. I get it. But Wyatt. So before we get out of here, man, any final thoughts on your end?
No, man. I mean, we coming to a close on our recap. Coming up towards the end, we kind of timed it perfectly here. But I really enjoy going back and kind of analyzing these games over the course of that because we're finishing up on the regular season now. It's very interesting to see some of the progression throughout the season and everything, and what changed and what didn't change. And that's the bad part that kind of followed us throughout the playoffs and everything. But, these are going to be some big games we're going to be talking about coming up here in the next couple of weeks. And then before you know it, it's the regular season, baby. And it's going to be popping from there. I cannot wait. I'm super excited.
Yes, sir. So I know with the time change, we won't have as many people, live tonight. Get that. But definitely, if you watch the show, if you watch part of the show, you see the replay, make sure you share the show out for us, man. We just
absolutely
want to have good Eagles content, content we can share, want to partner with other Eagles podcasts, hop on there, have them hop on with us, just, get some different ideas, different opinions and everything. So, man, everything that we do is just about this team, right? It's just about this team right here because that's the best team in the league, and you can't tell the Eagles fan anything different. And,
right.
That being said, man, we're going to pretty much get things going here. But Jalen Hurts got a little something to say to y'all. He was number 3 on the top 100. So he just wants y'all to know 2 different things real quick.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
I knew that was going to be it. I knew that one was coming.
And also, he wants y'all to know this, or he wants y'all to do this.
Acknowledge me.
Facts. Because it's coming right back around this season too. It's Hurt season part 2.
And there's only one thing I can say to that right there, Wyatt. And
I'm excited, man.
Since we did play Dallas this week in the games back, since it was Dallas was one of them, we have to end with this.
Here we go right now. We got a kicker with a pick.
The Indianapolis Colts have traded their 49th pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. To announce the Philadelphia Eagles selection, please welcome from the University of Louisville, kicker David Akers.
What's up, Dallas?
Kicker's trolling the Cowboys.
Last year. I like standing up here before you as an undrafted free agent, representing that shield for 15 years. Tonight, I'm representing the Philadelphia Eagles, NFC East champs, divisional champs, NFC champs, and world champs. The world champs. Hey, Dallas, the last time you were in the Super Bowl, these draft picks weren't born. Tonight, we are welcomed into the Eagles
Look at Doug
family
Peterson.
with the 49th pick in the 2018 draft. The NFL would like to represent the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Goedert. He is the tight end from South Dakota State. Go Birds!
That
I'll never get
gets
old.
And
Never.
we'll definitely be using that every week when we play the Arlington football team. For the preview and the reviews, we'll definitely be making sure that we use that as part of the show. So with that being said, next week we're back to our normal time, 8:30 p.m. EDT. Make sure you're here. Make sure you bring a friend. Make sure you share. And always remember, tell 2 friends and 4 enemies. Just because they don't like you doesn't mean they won't like us. Fly Eagles fly.
Hashtag be elite.
Be elite.